So what's this about? Why am I here in the form of an avatar? Find out after this intro. Considering that I'm going to be doing a lot more comic book material, I wanted to see how I could spice things up a little bit. Also, I needed an excuse to not shoot these live videos since I'm going to be appearing in live videos more often, considering my work with The Blaze and my talks about politics, both here and on Being Libertarian. And I've drawn some influence from other YouTubers. Big shout out to Computing Forever, aka Dave Cullen, and here we are. But my idea is to really put these avatar versions of me in different environments as we talk about more comic book related material. I can physically put myself like in the comics and do a host of different other things. So yes, I'm floating in the sky right now. And you can see that moon looking thing over there in the background. I live there. Stop asking questions. But this also challenges me to put some of my editing skills to the test as I do my own edits. Also, big shout out to Marcos, who does the artwork of this cool guy that you see right now. I'll put a link to his work in the description box. Anyway, the funny thing about all of this is that this video will have nothing to do with comics. It's more of a test run. Watch this ad. Yo, thanks for checking out the video, but many of you may not know that I'm the front man of a band called Backwards. All the music is live on all major digital platforms, and you can check out our music videos on our YouTube at youtube.com/backwordsmusic. That's BACKWORDZ music. Or visit our website at backwordsmusic.com. We had an incredible debut album release, and we are currently gearing up for our second album. So be on the lookout for that. And if you haven't jammed our other stuff, go check it out. So, Chris Hayes. Now, Chris Hayes, he is a political commentator on the well-respected MSNBC. And I saw a tweet by way of his show, which is an article that consists of a usual segment of his. And in said segment, he states, what kind of government, what kind of society, what kind of people says, well, it is mostly killing the old and immune compromised. So really, when you think about it, the risk to everyone else is pretty low. Of course, this statement was centered around Trump and his response and everything else, but this is such a bizarre thing to lead with. Chris asked this silly question as to what kind of people would say this. Well, people that actually analyze the available data. You've probably seen me show you this graph right here. I'll link it in the description as well. But these are the numbers that are coming straight from New York City. What I'm showing here is the deaths per 100,000. As you can see, ages 75 and older far outpaces the other age demographics. Here's another from the same source, and it breaks down the individual deaths. As you can see, there are far more people dying at the age of 75 and up than any other age demographic. If you include ages 65 and up, it will account for the vast majority of deaths altogether. If we look at the numbers here in Texas, they show the same thing. Of the near 500 completed fatality investigations, they're looking at this a little more in depth. Most of them are above the age of 80. You can look at the data just about from any place in the world. I believe Italy's was like the average death was like 81 years of age. They all say the same thing or something very similar. Most of the people that are dying from this virus are older and or have underlying issues. This isn't to say that there aren't outliers. I'm sure you've read all the articles about every single young person that has died from this, because many of these weirdos want to perpetuate this idea that it kills people indiscriminately. But those are outliers. To say that this is killing the old and the immune compromised would be factually correct if you're saying that it's killing them for the most part. You tell us to trust the science, and that's what it says. Outliers will not change this. So now we have to discuss why it is that people like Chris Hayes and others have such an issue with pointing this out. This is going to be heavily debated because we'll never know their true intentions.
At least they're not going to formally admit it. It should not offend you, though, to acknowledge facts. I understand that some of these doom and gloomers like to think that they have a monopoly on caring about people. They act as if they claim the moral high ground. So in the event that you advocate against these nonsensical, indiscriminate lockdowns, well, you want people to die. If you didn't want people to die, then you'd, of course, just agree with them and their crazy lockdowns. I'd personally argue that they're full of crap. In fact, I believe that it's the opposite in this regards. You've probably heard me talk about New York's mishandling of the nursing homes and such. I've talked about this on The Blaze, where they were letting in all these people that had the virus, and they sort of admitted them in these nursing homes, which of course was a recipe for a disaster. Stupid stuff like this is allowed to happen because these bozos won't get real with themselves, and this is how I see it. You guys actually wanted doom and gloom. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, you wanted this to be some apocalyptic virus that killed everybody of all ages in the same capacity. It's like you wanted to say that you survived the plague or something, but you never got that apocalyptic event. There are so many people that get this virus and have little to no symptoms, and they never get hospitalized. You put 30 to 40 million people, Americans that is, out of work for a virus that mostly kills people that are of retirement age and don't work. Nurses danced on TikTok for months, and the wave of patients that was going to overwhelm them never really came. And even hospital workers are being laid off. Even the hardest hit spots like New York City may have experienced some stress at or near capacity. But can we truly say that they were even overwhelmed? It appears that everybody that needed the treatment got it, and that naval ship that was there to house all of these patients, they were ready for like 1,000 patients, and they only saw 183. So even that place, they got hit the hardest. Yes, they maybe had to roll out some emergency things, but it can be disputed that they were ever overwhelmed because it seemed like they could at least handle it. This is such a bizarre situation. We had this bandwagon effect where many countries and states locked down their entire economies, or at least big sectors of it, for the sake of this virus, a virus that most people get and have mild or no symptoms. And even though this information is out there, the lockdowns have not been released in many areas. People hope doom and gloom on Sweden, and they may have higher deaths per million than their neighbors, but their hospitals aren't overwhelmed, and many of their deaths came from another mishap with nursing homes. States such as Florida and Georgia and Texas have been opening up for about a month and some change, and y'all keep screaming about the apocalypse that's coming in 2 weeks that never came. You keep saying, just wait, but just wait never comes. You continue to move the goalposts. This whole ordeal started to flatten the curve. That was the point. And flatten the curve was a model that was never assumed to try to save every single individual. It never assumed that nobody would ever get infected or die from this virus. It was about spreading the number of infected over a longer period of time so that you didn't overwhelm your hospitals. Now, all of a sudden, the doom and gloomers have shifted to this moronic idea that we can't have the economy reopening until nobody ever gets it. So they have these tickers and so forth. Whoa, X amount of thousands of people are dying from this, as if nobody's ever died from anything. And they say that we got to shut it down until we have a vaccine that may or may not come. Again, this is a virus that most people are not ever going to die from. This makes no sense. And it's such an odd response considering the amount of data that is out there. Believe it or not, viruses existed and people got sick and people died long before this particular. But let's talk about those lives, because you probably have someone that you care about. I have someone that I care about that's either in this sort of elderly category or they're immunocompromised. What if you dedicated time and resources to protecting those that are most vulnerable instead of worrying about everybody else? That'd be a lot easier. Meanwhile, those that want to stay inside, y'all can stay inside. Those of us that want to assume the risk, we can assume the risk as we have done throughout our entire lives before this virus ever existed. So wear your mask, do whatever makes you feel safe, but an indiscriminate lockdown that doesn't even target the people that are most vulnerable is not worth pulling the rug from under 30 or so million people, which puts their livelihood sort of under question. Of course, you're not going to take credit for the lives lost or derailed due to depression or suicides that are really a result of these lockdowns. Deaths of despair, the real things. Using your little catchy slogans, we're in this together, right? Flatten the curve, all of that stuff. Or thinking that your experts are the only experts on the planet will not change what the data says. Unfortunately, when you just acknowledge the facts, people say that you aren't taking this serious, as if there's only one way to take this serious. And that's, of course, doing what they want you to do. But if you cannot simply analyze what the data says, honestly, because you either won an apocalyptic event or got caught with egg on your face and have committed to the doom and gloom, you are being dangerously dishonest. And actually, people's lives are going to be lost because of it. So, to Chris Hayes and others, yes, this virus mostly kills the elderly and immune compromised. That's what the facts show. And it shouldn't be a crime to say that. I'm sure we all, again, have people that we know or care about that are in those demographics. Maybe we could save more of them by actually targeting them with your sort of quarantine efforts and so forth, instead of applying the one size fits all in response to a virus that does not make us all sick. Our bodies don't respond in the same way depending on what age and health demographic that you're in. Whew. So that's going to wrap it up, guys. Let me know how you feel about the style of this video, and be sure to follow me on all forms of social media. Until next time, y'all be easy.